What is chicken picking? You often hear this term associated with country guitar, and simply put, all chicken picking is it's a style of hybrid picking that allows us to pluck the strings with a certain kind of attack and feel. And what hybrid picking means is that you're using a pick. In this case, I'm using just a regular pick. Other players will use a thumb pick, which we'll talk about in a bit. But you're using a pick in combination with your fingers. So we're not just straight picking all the notes. We're actually going to be using a hybrid or a combination of our fingers and the pick. And this allows us to do or to get sounds like this that you would be hard pressed to get if you were just using a pick alone. Let me demonstrate. It allows us to get rhythms like this. And it allows us to play double stop licks like this. So overall, it's a very useful technique to develop. It does take some time to get under your fingers if it's brand new to you, if you've never used your fingers in conjunction with a pick before. It is going to take some time, but it is well worth it. It's almost like a superpower once you unlock it, because it allows you to do so much more on the guitar. So, all that being said, how can we learn to chicken pick? So to begin with, we need a pick, obviously, and I'm using just a regular old flat pick. Any style of pick will work. You will also see some of the greatest guys to ever do this using thumb picks, and I cannot do the thumb pick thing. There's benefits, there's pros and cons to both of these styles, and I'll kind of get into that briefly. But I would say if you're coming from maybe a blues or a rock background and you're already used to using just a regular pick, I would not recommend jumping to a thumb pick, just because the whole thing is going to seem so foreign. The benefit of using a thumb pick is it leaves our pointer finger, which is our most dexterous. I don't know. It's the most useful finger, maybe. I'm gonna have to look that word up. But the whole thing with a thumb pick is it leaves our pointer finger and our ring finger available to do the popping. So a lot of people like that because they feel the most comfortable using their pointer finger. If we jump to a regular pick, we tie up our pointer finger, obviously holding the pick. Now we have to use our middle finger and our ring finger in conjunction to kind of get those extra notes that we want. So not a right or wrong answer here. Brent Mason is probably he's one of the best players to ever play this style, and he uses a thumb pick. I guess the other downside of a thumb pick, I don't know if you can alternate pick quite as quickly with a thumb pick, just because the upstroke, if you're doing an upstroke with a thumb pick, you still have to kind of marry your finger to it, otherwise it starts to catch on the strings. All that being said, do what feels most comfortable to you. If you're brand new to all of this, maybe try them both and see what you like more. I'm going to be showing it with a regular pick, but that's just my preference. It's not the right way to do it. Yeah, so that's kind of the first step. We need to get the pick. The second step, we're going to start adding our fingers. So we have our pick. Step two, we're going to start using our fingers. And the question, not the question, but a question I get a lot of the time is, do you need fingernails in order to play this style? The answer is no. There's a few reasons people get fingernails. One is they want their fingers to sound the same as a pick, if that makes sense, so that you don't hear different sounds whether you're picking with a pick or with your fingers. But the main point of this style is we want that pop, which I'm going to talk about here in a second, but I think people find it easier to get that pop if they have a little bit more of a nail to grab the string with. So once again, this is going to be a muscle memory thing. I think it's maybe a little bit easier to learn with if you grow your fingernails out just a tiny bit, but it is not a requirement. I'll show you here in a second. My fingernails are cut super short, so not a requirement at all. Once again, try it, maybe grow them out for a few weeks and see if you like that better, but not necessary. So now that we're adding the fingers, let's learn our first lick. Make sure that you stick around till the end of the video because I'm going to be putting all of these ideas into an actual solo so that you can hear how it sounds in the context of an actual song. In addition, all the tabs to the licks and the solo, as well as the backing track for that solo, that stuff is all available over on Patreon. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely go check it out over there. So the first lick we're learning is going to be super easy, and it's not meant to be musical. This is strictly just to get this kind of idea under your fingers. So we're going to do this thinking key of D here, and I'm going to start up here on the what is that, the 7th fret, and I'm using my pick on the D string, and then I'm just kind of resting my middle finger on the G string here, and my ring finger is resting on the B string. So when it comes time for one of my fingers to do its work, it's already kind of laying on the string that it's then supposed to pick. So I'm going to start with just picking, and you can kind of pick whatever notes you want on the adjacent string. We're just working on getting our pick and our fingers working together. So for the sake of this, I'll just pick once and hammer on. And then I want us to start just getting that pop. So we can just go back and forth. And if you'll see here, I'm kind of over exaggerating, but we really want to kind of get our finger under that string and pop, like pull it up so that it slams back into the frets, and that's what's giving us that chicken picking pop. The alternative would be if you're just kind of playing more mellow, which there's certainly a time and place for, even within country style picking, but to really get that percussive snap, we have to almost lift the string up a bit so that it pops back into the frets. So just if you're brand new to this is a good thing to just kind of work on picking a string and then plucking a string with your finger. Once you've done it with your middle finger, work on just adding it or skipping and then going to your ring finger. This one's going to feel even more weird if you're new to this. So when I'm doing this picking, I'm trying to grab the string. I'm trying to grab the string right, basically where my fingernail makes connection to the flesh of the finger. So I'm kind of angling it sideways and using that to grab the string and pop it out. So if I did have more of a fingernail, that's where it would help me kind of grab. I'd be like almost reaching my fingernail under the string to grab it there. So like I said, this isn't a super musical lick, it's just kind of a phrase to start getting this under your fingers. So once you've done that a few times, we're going to now make it sound somewhat country. We're going to add a bend in here. So we're going to start the same way. So if you see there, I'm starting with that hammer on, and then I am using my middle finger on the G string there, and then I'm immediately putting my middle finger back down and plucking it again. Full step bend. Then here's my ring finger on the B string, middle finger again, and then I'm ending with a picked note using my pick on that root note, that D there. So that's a great musical lick that we can now start using in a kind of a musical context. That's going to be the first lick that now incorporates both of our fingers. The final lick, kind of for the fingers working independently, we're going to be doing it all on the same string. So it's going to sound something like this. So still thinking key of D here, and I'm just walking up from that third to our fifth chromatically. But every time, if you notice, I'm alternating between a picked note and then plucking with that middle finger. So I'm actually picking while it's muted, and then I'm pressing down and plucking it. I kind of find when students are first starting to do this that doing it on the same string gets a little bit more complicated because the pick and your finger are getting in the way of each other. But it can give us kind of a cool, unique sound when we do it like that on the same string that it's tough to get with just using a pick. So it's another valuable thing to practice, is working with the chicken picking style all within one string. So let's talk about using our fingers in tandem now for like double stop ideas. And the way I like to think about this is just resting them on the fretboard and then just kind of marrying them together so that when they pick the strings, they're coming off at the same time. So for this double stop lick, we're going to do it in the key of D again. We're going to start kind of similar, but we're now going to be kind of adding that double stop feel. So D major again, we're going to do this. And all I'm doing there is I'm kind of doing those approach notes. And then I'm, like I said, I'm just resting my fingers right there, G string and B string, and just coming off the strings, plucking them at the same time. You will occasionally see people doing the double stop picking with their pick and their middle finger instead of their middle and ring finger. I'm a huge fan of leaving the pick out of it when I'm doing double stops, just because it allows us a lot more options for doing licks like that where you still want your pick doing something else. If we're involving the pick in the double stop, it kind of takes it out of the picture for then jumping to other strings. So once again, it's not necessarily right or wrong, just how I prefer to do it. Once we get that under our fingers, we're going to add some more bends and incorporate the double stop with some single string picking. So something like this. So what I'm doing there, starting exactly the same, but I'm picking that, or plucking, then putting my fingers immediately back on those strings to mute them, and then bending up while I pluck that with my my middle finger, hit the ring finger, and then I'll probably end it with my pick. So I'm using chicken picking to do the first part of the bend, and then I'll bring my pick down and finish with my pick. So that one's going to sound like this. Once we have all that under our fingers, we're starting to get comfortable with it. Let's just learn one more kind of advanced lick that's going to wrap all this up and put it all together. This is a Brent Mason lick. He actually teaches it. There's videos of him teaching it on YouTube, so I don't feel bad for stealing it. We're going to do this one in the key of E. It's going to sound like this. So what is going on there? Similar to how we started that lick prior that we did in D, we're kind of doing that approach with the double stop. Then I'm just moving down a whole step. Then using my pick to walk down those 3 notes. Jumping down another whole step, sort of the 5th fret here. And then here I'm adding the chicken picking back in. Move down 1 fret. And then after I pick that 2nd, I'm just sliding down 1 more fret. So I'm not picking once I do that slide. It's like that. And one other thing I should add is I'm doing a dead note right there. So between that barred double stop and this one, I'm kind of just resting my middle or my ring finger here on my fretting hand. So I'm not pressing down, it's not ringing out, it's just a muted note. That's a great one to start adding in on solos. Sounds super cool. And yeah, it uses all this stuff. The last thing, just since we're on the topic, let's just briefly talk banjo rolls. Banjo rolls are just kind of within the umbrella of chicken picking. It's just a different style within it. And banjo rolls are cool because basically you're going to be rolling your fingers in combination with your pick, trying to emulate how a banjo player would pick the strings. So it allows you to get sounds like this. Which, if you were just trying to flat pick that stuff, it's not going to be an option for you. The way it rings out and the speed it would require. So that's kind of why I say learning this stuff can open up, like it can be kind of a superpower of sorts, just because it opens up so many new possibilities for how you can play stuff on the guitar. So just a quick brief introduction to banjo rolls. That's going to be a whole lesson on its own someday. But we kind of talked earlier about how I just rest my fingers on the strings that I'm planning on picking. So for a banjo roll, we'll just take these 3 notes of an open E chord. So just D, G, and B strings. And I have my pick just resting on the G or on the D string, finger on the G, ring is on the G, and middle is on the G, and ring is on the B. And I'm just kind of rolling through them. And then once I get done, I just kind of place them all back on and get ready to do it again. And then you can just slowly speed it up. So we'll just work on ascending that little chord progression there. I'm just going from that open or the like cowboy chord E shape to a to a B, back to an E. You can do it once per position. You can do it multiple times. This is not necessarily supposed to be super musical in the sense that you would want to play it over a solo maybe, but it's more just designed to get that repeating muscle memory down. Anyways, that is kind of the entry dive into getting banjo rolls down. Like I said, that is a topic that we could do a whole hour's worth of lessons on. But if you're new to this stuff, it's useful to know that exists. Maybe something you want to look into more. Cool. Okay, so let's put all of this together into an actual solo. The licks themselves aren't going to be used exactly because I'm going to try to make this sound musical and cool. But let's put them all into a solo, at least the ideas all into a solo that showcases how this stuff is used out in the real world. So yeah, let me take a break here and write a solo because I don't really have an idea of what I'm going to do yet. And we will check back in a second. So hopefully that solo kind of helped put into context what all this stuff sounds like in real world application. Like I said, this stuff's not going to be, you're not going to get it right away if it's new to you, but it's definitely worth investing the time to get the hang of this stuff. Because yeah, it just opens up so many doors, not just within country, but within so many genres of music. It just makes you that much more versatile because you're able to use the extra fingers to your advantage like that. So like I said, that solo, I'm going to break down the whole thing and teach it kind of step by step over on Patreon. If you want a more detail and depth of what's going on there, yeah, head over to Patreon and check that out. The backing track as well as the PDF for all the tabs from this lesson are over there as well. So I know I say this all the time, but I hope this is helpful for everyone. Yeah, I'm just kind of trying to make the videos that I would have wanted to see when I was starting out. So this is just a kind of a beginner taste into, or kind of an introductory taste into what is available with chicken picking. Obviously, it's a bottomless pit as far as what you can get into. But hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully this kind of gives you some insight into what exactly it is. 100% need to learn this if you want to learn country guitar. That's just the reality of it. To get the right sound, the right feel, you got to be able to pick like this. So yeah, that's all I got for you today. As always, thank you so much for checking out the video, checking out the channel, do all the stuff where you subscribe and like and comment. It definitely helps, and I definitely appreciate it. And yeah, take care, be good to everyone, be good to yourself, and we will see you all in the next video.